Okay. Okay. Before we discuss happiness, I just actually want to remind you that in order to read our text is usually lengthy one, but please don't be intimidated with that. What you need to do is try to find out what you really want to know about that particular terminology. And what you know is what you really want to know can come from sometimes the italicized words, or sometimes the striking or outstanding words from the text. And please underline it. That might be keywords. Okay, you want to know. You want to know. So just actually highlight. If I use my PDF on screen here, I just actually highlight it with my what is it? With a tool, okay, in the after the comments. So with that kind of tool, I can highlight it and I can learn how I want to know something. Okay, so this is KWL. What do you know about self-regulation of emotion? I would like to know you. I would like you to explain that later. What would you like to know about self-regulation of emotion, and what have you learned about self-regulation of emotions later on? Okay. Now today we are going to learn about emotion parts of emotion regulation and the regulation parts of emotion regulation, and how we can train ourselves so that we can regulate our emotion. All right, so and this is actually emotions, and what determines success of someone is the ability of themselves drive emotions optimally to the positive platform, or to the positive side. We often hear that scientists say that we please do not be driven by our emotion, but we drive our emotion, okay, in order to not to be enslaved, okay, by our emotions. So this is actually the thing. The degree of people reactions, positive or negative, to events that they perceive as relevance, okay, to their thoughts or feelings. And then usually it comes along with behavior or physiological responses. Okay, this is very connected. So emotion can really affect our physics, our physical condition. So if we are depressed, for example, then it can affect really our health. Now, and this is the emotion regulation, regulation of classic emotions. The result is this: any stimulus or activity that can cause changes in people's emotional states. Okay. All right. So this is the thing. Now, there are two, at least, responses to emotional responses here. The one is primary responses, and the second is secondary responses. The primary one is actually the immediate or unprocessed response to event. So, for example, if we are faced with traffic congestion, okay, usually our primary emotion was probably we are angry because we are catching up late. We are actually left behind in terms of schedule, and we can be really angry, okay, and people on the street can become what we call it, the objects of our anger, okay, sometimes, or probably because of the other causes, okay, and the causes is probably what we don't really need. So it can, there are a lot of causes of primary emotional responses here. So in order to self-regulate, we really have to train ourselves, or people, probably the students, if we are teaching later, we can train ourselves, or we can train students in order to hold our responses here. Yes, probably we are angry, but the skillful person, the skillful regulator of emotion can really, know that they are facing danger if they vent out their emotion. So that's why there comes the secondary responses. That is people's ability to cope with their primary emotion responses. So the causes are the same. The primary emotion can be the same, but those who can regulate their emotions, they can quickly, alter or change their reaction into secondary. So those who cannot change into secondary responses, those who will stay in their emotional states. Okay. So for example, if they are angry, then they will come, they will stay becoming angry, probably like for the next 3, 4, or even a day, one day, they are always angry in that particular day. But those who can have the secondary responses here, the primary response is the same. Okay, they are angry, but then there is like a kind of, if it is a kind of graph, there is like a kind of steep response. Steep means like they try to break, okay, suddenly, and then they know that what they need to do needs to, sometimes people stay away or take a distance from that particular problem. Okay, I'm going to see this this kind of model of emotional sensitivity plus emotion regulation. So you see that in the left here on the screen, there is kind of emotional response, and when it gets higher, it comes to the up here, up to the arrow, and this is actually what we call a primary reaction. So those who, everybody probably can have this kind of primary reaction, but the difference is there are also people who have low sensitivity. Okay, this one is a high sensitivity, someone who is quite reacting immediately or suddenly, or prone to overreact sometimes. And there are also people who have like a kind of low sensitivity. It's also possible. Now, in this sense, the primary reaction, and this is the time, okay? So down on the bottom line here is actually the timeline, okay? And this is the emotional responses. Now, when they get like a kind of angry, or they can something sad happen, the primary reaction can be like this one, okay? The emotional response is actually very high in a short time, okay? But gradually, along with the time, it can flat, okay? It can go flat like this. Now, nevertheless, those who can have low sensitivity of this kind of primary reaction, they can down-regulate quickly. This is actually like a kind of, because they can, push the brake button, and then they can regulate themselves in order to level their own emotion, so that they are not so much affected by that kind of emotional responses. So this is the emotional responses. If they are happy, they are not too happy, because it can be also be dangerous in what we call it in our cultural or sociological terminology. But we have to stay calm in this case. If we are happy, don't be too happy. If we are sad, don't be too sad. That is like a kind of sorry, Ayuni on Ririn also, and others. That is like a kind of Japanese term. Probably you can explain later. The Japanese term is like this: ojo gumunan, ojo kagetan, ojo tumeh. What does that mean? Mas Rizky, do you know that? Ojo gumunan, ojo kagetan. How can you explain that in English? Ojo gumunan.
Gumunan is like curious, too curious.
Okay. Or amazed, amazed. Okay. Ojo kagetan, kaget.
Be shocked.
Shocked. Okay. As a person, we cannot be sometimes too much, having amazement, too amazed, or too shocked. Okay, for a particular courses, about particular courses. So just stay calm in this case. Okay, so that we can stay cool and stay calm. Yes, of course, we need to enjoy happiness, but not too much, because those who too happy also can be prone to feel sad suddenly. Okay, like a kind of a pendulum. Okay, so sorry, I cannot see this. Now, the up regulation here, I hope you can understand this. The primary reaction is the first reaction toward a cause. So for example, like traffic congestion, angry, whoop, it goes up there in a very short time. Okay, maybe like in 1 second or 2 seconds, it goes up. That's the primary reaction. Okay, but then after a while, there's a kind of a secondary reaction. The secondary reaction here, whether we will will do up regulation or down regulation. Up regulation means like maintain that kind of emotion, that maintain that kind of anger, or we would like to down regulate. Okay, make it level. Okay, to the normal. So this is actually the down regulation parts. So this is actually what we are going to learn today. How can people sometimes cannot control their emotion? So they will stay with this kind of murmuring the problems, ruminating the problems, or some people, they can be able to, down regulate here quickly. So it's like a kind of a, in terms of timeline, okay, in terms of time, there's like a kind of a steep process, okay, down there. So that's, if they are angry, then they can control themselves. Okay, all right, I can be calm, okay, and peaceful here. So this actually down regulates. And the difference between those who are so emotional is here, up regulation, and those who can be controlling of themselves is actually around here, the down regulation. So that emotional response here can be controlled very easily. I hope you can understand this. Okay. Now, I will ask you question right now to think and share about this one. And also this is asked in your in the questionnaire, in the worksheets. Think about it. What made you really emotional? What incident can describe your strongest or weakest point of emotion? Now, probably we come from the first one. What is, if you can find, which one is actually easier to find? The strongest or the weakest point of emotion? And tell me about the incident. Of course, there is like a kind of private, personal incident. Please don't tell us, okay? If it is too personal, you don't need to tell us. Just actually tell us something which you can share to others, okay? Anyone. This is now reflection parts, okay? It is related to the primary responses and secondary responses. The primary response is your ability, the primary response is actually the first reaction on a particular cause which drive our emotion. But the secondary response is, oops, stay away from that first, and then we would like to regulate it. What made you really emotional? Okay. I will let it up to you now to discuss this. Anyone want to share? I will stop sharing for the time being. Or I will call you. Maybe if you are ready. I don't know whether you are ready or not, but just try. Anggi. Okay. Have you ever felt sad?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And how will you regulate? How can you control that so that you can overcome the sadness?
The sadness, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Not anger, sadness.
Yeah. Anything.
Anything. Mm. Actually, it really, how to say? I want to share my experience when living in Thailand, sir.
Oh, sure.
For 2 weeks, the very first 2 weeks, I cried every day, sir. Because in that environment, it's very new. I couldn't speak Thai. I couldn't understand anything. So when I teach, when I come to the class, I cannot communicate with my students. So when I came back to my dorm, I cried like for 2 weeks, sir.
Okay.
Yeah. So how I finally overcome it by um, calling my parents, sir.
Mm,
So
okay.
yeah,
Very
I
good.
I ask for help. Like I tell what are my problems to others, so I feel relieved. And then yeah, just try to think positive, sir.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So this is the way you regulate yourself. All right. Good. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yes,
Okay. So
sir.
this is actually the basic question. How will you regulate yourself if something not good or something bad happened to you? Okay. Stella, will you share something to us?
Hello, sir.
Mhm.
So I guess when I have a problem, probably at home or with somebody else, but at that day I have to teach my students. Actually, I have like from kids until adults level, but um, what is it? Most of my students in kids level, they can feel what I felt. So I have to, what is it? I have to cover my sadness. I have to cover my anger when I teach them.
Mm.
So at the time, I usually think first that what is it? I have to teach my student first, so later I can what is it? Resolve my problem.
Mm.
So I have to focus. What is the positive thing that I can maintain at the day?
Mm.
Something like that.
So stay focused. That's
Yeah.
actually the way. Mm.
Yes.
Well, that's hard because usually emotion is covering the whole mind, body, and soul. You know,
Yes.
for
Yes.
emotion, sadness, it covers everything. Okay, in in our brain. Okay, but you are, I would say, you force yourself to stay focused on what you are
Yes.
doing. Okay, in front of you. Oh, that's good. This is the way you self-regulate yourself. Okay, and not everyone have the same tips or strategy. We might have different strategy. All right, that's actually what I'm asking you right now. Okay, how can you regulate yourself if you face something which cause you emotionally? Anggi, just for example, call her parents, okay, and share about her own feelings, okay, and then it can really relieve, okay, her. Stella, stay focused, okay, stay focused, because Stella is going to face children, going to face students, and Stella doesn't want to have these affects her students, okay. Others, can you raise your hand? How you regulate yourself if you face something happen? All right. The question was before that, you as a person, we really have to find out our weakest point, okay? So that we are aware, okay? It becomes the knowledge that I am too sensitive on this, okay? So if I face that, how should I react? This is actually the value which we need to understand right now. If in order to find what we call it, our weakest points, we have to reflect back on what makes us emotionally unstable. Okay, this is the thing. And everybody probably have their own experience, or probably we don't realize that. Now, today, I ask you this question. Could you please describe your weakest points? Okay, weakest point. What is your weakest points? A kind of a trigger or stimulus or stimuli which can make you what we call it, sad emotionally, okay. Or we can also find out the opposites. What is our strongest points? Okay, our strongest points in terms of I can feel happy if blah, 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 for example. So this is actually the way we also regulate. So it's not always something negative. It can also be something positive. By being aware of our strongest point or weakest point, then can we regulate ourselves? Okay, I'll come back to the question later if we have time. I'm going to go back to this kind of sharing screen. Okay, we can come back to this slide later. Now, this is the process of emotion regulation. Anggi and Stella just share the way they regulate their emotion. And today we are going to see a kind of tips or a kind of tricks, a kind of strategy how people regulate their emotion. The first one is actually using situation modification. So this is actually what we call anticipatory strategy. Anticipatory strategy means there is something going to happen in the future, and there might be like a kind of risks or consequences. And in order to avoid the risks or consequences, I need to do this and this and this and this. Okay. So this is actually visualizing the potential emotional experiences. The easiest example is this. If we are going to face examination, or we are going to, face deadlines of our papers. Okay, so you are going to review several journals, for example, and your research plans, and actually, the deadline. And in order to feel that you have a kind of a sense of success or achievement, then of course you have to regulate yourself. For example, I have to work on this at least 3 hours a day for that particular project. So this is actually visualizing the potential of emotional experiences. Failing to do 3 hours of working on that paper, then probably I will be failing. And if I fail, I will feel really, really sad or depressed. So this is actually situation modification. I modify the situation by taking actions in order to reduce the bad impacts. Do you understand this? Okay, this is the strategy. Situation modification. I modify the situation by taking action to reduce the bad impacts. Okay, so, all right. I can share this later. You don't have to take a picture on the slide. Okay. Now, attention deployment. This is actually what people are doing. All right. Long time ago, I used to do this a lot. Attention deployments. Deployments, what is it? Direct attention away from the stimuli. Okay, direct attention. For example, like people might bury themselves or make themselves busy in work to forget about sadness. So try to divert, or divert means like a kind of changing the focus of attention, not from the stimuli, okay, not from which always reminding him or her on that particular emotional causes. So for example, like I feel sad, okay, if someone is actually feeling sad because of the loss of a family, for example, the loss of a relative, in order to avoid that kind of sadness, then we need to keep busy our mind, so that our mind is actually directing to something which, draining our energy, which can, make us focus on that particular attention. So this is actually the idea of attentional deployment. Diverting the attention, not to the stimuli or not to the sadness, but to something else. Okay, so like a kind of what we call it, manipulating our mind, so that we are not focused on that particular problem, but directing towards what drain our, or not what drain, what can focusing or changing our focus of attention. This is also in some way answers what Stella has shared, okay? But although somewhat different, but it is also sometimes help us. If, for example, we are very sad of something, of a particular stimuli, of a particular problem, we understand that if that might affect our professional work. Now, in order to avoid that, we have to stay focused on our professional work because we are facing our students, because we are serving our students. And in order to, make our professional work maximum, then we have to, in some way, forget a bit about our problem, although that's actually priority, but forget a bit our problem by focusing on our professional work. And to some extent, it may also, in a way, forget our problem or minimize our, the intensity of our problem. But in some way, it can also make ourselves focus on our professional work. So this is actually two ways. Attentional deployments. Okay, I hope you understand it. Number 3, cognitive change. Cognitive change, like we are facing some. Okay. Before I continue, is there anyone here who might want to give example? Just an example, because some of you probably have already written it down here on the worksheets. I don't know which number is it. Which number it is. Probably some of you who is responsible to this number can give us an example. Cognitive change means rationalize emotion, thinking that the event is not detrimental or harmful. So cognitive evolution is to reduce the emotional impact. Do you understand this? Anyone wants to give an example? From worksheet, what number is it?
Yes, I am, sir.
Who is it? Fiska? No?
Sorry, no, Alex, sir.
Okay, because mine is actually, yeah, okay, go on, please. Yes.
Yes, for the example, for the cognitive change, my example is when we remember the name of someone. So when we're getting older, sometimes we forget the name of like our children or our friends. So the example from me is that, sir. Like they forget the name with a friend or family member of the same name, or with a place, color, or even that sound like the new name.
Yeah, but the question is, how is the emotion involved here in your example? We are talking about how to regulate our emotion. If something bad happened, for example, if something bad happened, then what we need to do is using cognitive change. Now, what is the location of the emotion here in this case? I haven't quite aware of your example.
Actually, I still confused about how to regulate the.
Yeah. Okay. No problem. Anyone knows about the example of cognitive change? So if something bad happened to you, just an example, okay? Just imagine a situation where we are not probably in a good mood, okay, of something, because probably, okay. For example, someone pickpocketed you, and then you are actually, you don't have money, okay? This is the money is actually going to be used probably to pay the debts, and all your money is actually in the wallet, in your wallet, but somebody pickpocketed you. And of course, you are furious, right? Because that's the only money we do have, the only money. Just for example, like we got 1 million in our pockets, and that's the only money we have for that day. but for some reason, our wallet was stolen. Of course, we are furious, right? We are very angry. Now, if we are using this kind of cognitive change, how can we minimize our, how can we down-regulate it? Okay. How can we regulate our emotion?
Is it like making sure that everything is going to be okay and focus on what we can do instead?
That's it. That's it. Yeah. Just an example. Okay. This is like a kind of pep talk. Pep talk means like saying words to you, sending sportive sentences to you in order that you are not feeling so sad. Okay. Now, this is also a kind of protection buffer to you. Protection buffer is like a kind of bantal or what call it? Sponge, so that these words, this incident does not drop you from the top too hard, and then you can feel still safe. It's like a kind of airbag, you know, airbag. In a car, we got airbag for to protect ourselves. Now, this kind of regulation, this kind of strategies or tips or strategies, it's like a kind of protection buffer. It's like a kind of airbag. So that's when we got an accident, it can help us not to have really bad impacts or detrimental or harmful effect to us. Now, by knowing this kind of strategies, then we can still maintain our sanity, well-being. Okay, if there is something bad happen to us, we are not too sad. Okay, we are not too depressed, but we can control our emotion. Now, what is cognitive change? Okay, was that Reta ya yang tadi? Who said that? Reta ya?
Yes, Pak.
Okay. So you said that it is okay, to get your wallet stolen. But what kind of sentences can we console ourselves? What do you call it? Can entertain or console ourselves? If your wallet is stolen, what would you say to yourself? Anyone? Okay, Reta sudah ya. Others, okay. Or it doesn't have to be wallet. It doesn't have to be. It can be something valuable to you, but it is actually stolen from you, or anything. If wallet is probably not a good example, you can use your own example. But what kind of words you say to yourself? Anyone?
Me, sir, maybe, sir.
Who? Sorry, I cannot see all the screen.
Maybe,
so please,
sir.
Huh?
Everything gonna be okay, and then we will continue our life maybe.
All right. Okay. That's easily said and done. Who's that? Was it Rizky or Indrajit? Oh, sorry, I cannot see your face because it is actually in a very short screen, small screen.
Anggi, sir.
Oh, sorry, Anggi. Once again, Anggi.
There is an interesting quote. I think when I got a bad thing happen in my life, I usually say to myself that it's okay, it's just a bad luck, not a bad life.
Ah, cool. Yeah. Okay.
Bad luck, not bad life.
All right. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. What else? Okay. Thank you, Anggi. It's just bad luck, not bad life. Okay. It should not affect the whole entire life. Right. It just things bad happen in our life and it makes us stronger. Okay, others, come on. This is actually what we call cognitive change. We understand that something bad happened, but please do not see or use your own paradigm or use your different angle in order to see this as, okay, it's actually giving us positive, influence, or it is not actually too harmful. Others? What words you say to yourself?
Let me try, sir.
Yes, please, Pak Happy.
Yeah. Usually I prefer not to use cognitive change mostly,
Okay.
but I use spiritual change.
All right, sure. Go on, please.
Okay, so usually I relate this to transcendental things like God's will, and I try to find God in everything. I mean, what does God say to me in this experience? For example, the bad experience, and uh, from the spiritual exercise, I think the state of stability, or what is it, state of
Yeah.
balance will be longer, and what is it, I will not get that kind of drop down again next time, so I can find the balance of the spiritual condition. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Pak Happy. That's why previously I mentioned ESQ, emotional spiritual quotient, instead of emotional intelligence per se, just that, but we now have what we call emotional spiritual quotient, because we in the spiritual quotient here, we understand that, you know, there is something divine up there, something, you know, which controls what we call it, the supreme power, okay, up there, and that what, you know, controls us here in this universe. Yeah. Thank you, Pak Happy. Others? One more. Cognitive change. But still, the spiritual one that you just actually mentioned belongs to cognitive change because it affects the way you see the problem. Okay. But of course, because, you know, in the psychology, we don't have that kind of spiritual terminology in this case, religious or spiritual terminology, but that still belongs to this one. So you try to use your thoughts, your spiritual being here in order to understand moments of, you know, sadness here, so that it is not too detrimental. Others? Last one. If no one says anything, then we won't change the slide. Tia. Tia, are you there?
Dia said she has connection problem.
All right.
Sir.
Oh, sure. Clara?
Me, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. If I was in that experiences, when if someone stole my pocket, my wallet, I think I would think that that the person that stole my wallet needs more money than me. So yeah, like that, sir.
Okay. All right. Good. Yeah. Thank you, Clara. Yeah, it can also, we can use that kind of sportive, positive sentences in order to, what we call it, change our mind. Okay. But we can also use, as what Pak Happy mentioned, about spiritual being, because if we are quite, as a kind of religious person, we can also use our religious beliefs in order to, I'm not saying manipulating, in order to console us, and in order to make us happy, because everything, any experience will always give us something valuable. Okay, this is the response modulation. Manage the physiological experience or behavior by inhibiting, by directing, or control. So, and that is like a kind of an example from the video from the YouTube, which I, you know, inserted. I have already inserted the link in the worksheets. I hope you later on or before you can check that. So this is response modulation. If we have to speak in front of public, so let's imagine that today, in 10 minutes to come, you are going to talk in front of 2,000 audience, okay, in a hall. Let's imagine. And you are going to give them a kind of motivational boost. You are going to provide as a kind of a keynote speaker on motivation building. And there are, 20 people in that hall. Naturally, we might also feel a bit nervous, okay, naturally. And you are using English. This is not Indonesian because the audience is international. So you are going to use English. And if we are nervous, we understand that we most likely can lose words, okay? We forget words. We forget all examples we have already planned before. So in order to avoid this problem to happen, and this is actually what we call using response modulation, using inhibiting or directing emotional impulses toward a subject object. Okay, inhibiting means spontaneous emotional expressions, or maybe using controlled breathing and what we call it, progressive muscle relaxation. You can check it in the YouTube. Okay, we do have an example of how to use progressive muscle relaxation, and it can make ourselves relaxed. Okay, please check it yourself later on. This is how to manipulate our physical responses so that it doesn't affect us substantially. Okay, I'm going to. This is actually a bit hard for some of us to understand, but what is meant by goal-oriented is like a kind of if we actually have a goal, emotional goal, and how to what we are going to do. So this is actually different from the first one. The first one was actually how to control our regulation of emotions, but this one is actually just dividing. There are actually two kinds of regulations. Number one is goal-oriented, and number two is need-oriented. Just that. Need-oriented is actually based on this. Goal means, okay, I would like to be happy, and in order to be happy, I do this and this and this. I have to study hard so that I can achieve success, and then success means happiness. This is actually goal-oriented. Do you understand this? Take appropriate steps be here to achieve the desired emotional states. If you want to finish, for example, like educational psychology paper on time with a very good result, for example, that's an example, then you have to start doing it from right now. I have to spend at least 2 hours in order to find good journals, continue with my research studies, for example, and every day I have to spend at least 2 hours in order to attend or study this. Just an example. So take appropriate steps to achieve the goal of your imagined emotion states. For example, like happiness, success. Okay, do you understand this? Okay, this is actually goal-oriented. Now, number two is need-oriented. Need-oriented is actually somewhat different. Need-oriented is like a we don't have that goal, that particular goal, but in time while we are experiencing an incident, we have to take actions because of that. So you don't have any goal yet, but when you are experiencing things, something bad happened to you, for example, then you need to do to regulate your emotion so that you don't feel too sad. Okay, so need-oriented is like whole beliefs about the unity of particular emotional states. This is ongoing goal, task, or norm may change its relevance. Okay, I'll give you an example a bit later. This is intuitions. So for example, like person-oriented emotion regulation, not mediated by intention, but by feelings or intuitions about appropriate courses of actions. Have you ever heard the chicken or duck story? chicken or duck? Ayam atau bebek? Have you ever heard that story? So yeah, I will tell you later. Probably don't have much time right now, but this actually the way we are processing information in order to achieve harmony. Okay, but okay, shortly speaking, chicken or duck story is telling about a couple. There are actually two lovers. They are a couple. They just got married, and then they were actually walking on the very beautiful garden in that particular sunny afternoon. So they enjoy the garden, they enjoy all the scenery, the beautiful flowers and the like. But all of a sudden, there was like a sound from the nearby river, quack, 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 quack here. And then that person, the wife said, honey, listen to that. I can hear the sound of chicken, okay? And then the husband said, no, that's not chicken. That can't be chicken. Are you kidding? That is a duck, okay? And then the wife was actually saying, no, no, that's chicken. I understand from, when I grew up, that sound is actually coming from chicken. And then the husband, no, that's duck. The chicken, that's duck, that's chicken. And then they were actually quarreling. They were fighting whether the sound is actually coming from chicken or duck. Until a point where they are all furious, they were angry because they would like to defend their own arguments. But then the husband said, okay, I understand that. To a particular point, the husband was stuck by the idea that they are actually walking around the garden in order to enjoy the harmony, in order to enjoy the situation, enjoy the moment. But why are they fighting? Now, in that sense, then the husband said, okay, honey, that is actually the sound of chicken. You're right. Quack, quack is the sound of chicken. And all right, the wife is actually happy, and they're walking along the garden, and then they enjoy that kind of beautiful afternoon. Okay, that's actually person-oriented emotion regulation. It's actually cool. The husband doesn't have like that kind of goal-oriented, but needs, immediate needs. Okay, it's like a kind of intuitions. I have to solve this problem immediately because I know that it is actually not going to be all right. It's not going to be all right. Everything is not going to be, because it's going to be ruining the kind of harmonious situation. Now, that's actually the idea. Now, this is actually Master Shifu facilitated emotional changes. This is related to this one. I don't know. Now, by facilitating emotional changes, emotion regulation promote coherence. If you know Kung Fu Panda story, there's like a kind of incidents where, okay, not everyone probably has watched this movie, but if you have, you know what Master Shifu did with Po, okay? Kung Fu Panda's inner space. Okay, this is actually the need-oriented, okay? Cool from Shifu, Master Shifu. Once I realized the problem was not you, but within me, I found inner peace and was able to harness the flow of the universe. Wow, this is such a powerful word from Master Shifu. And I love this movie a lot because there are a lot of philosophies behind this kind of movie making. And this is actually one of my favorite movie. Not because of the the animation, but most likely because of the words they use in the movie, just like this. Okay, now if Stella, Mas Happy, Anggi, Clara also mentioned things like a cognitive change, this is actually the way Master Shifu also in some way modify his thoughts. I realized that the problem is not me, it's not you, but it's me. Then, okay, and on and on and on. Okay, so I hope you can understand this, and probably can you turn up your voice and the volume in your computer? Can you listen to the sound of this?
Inner peace.
Can you
Yes,
listen?
sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Inner.
Can you turn up the volume?
Oh, Inner peace.
Oh. Master Shifu! Master Shifu, what do we got? Pirates? Vandals of Volcano Mountain? Whatever it is, I will take them down. Because I am in a mood. I need to get something done, you know what I mean? What are you doing?
One of Master Oogway's final teachings.
Whoa! Awesome! How did you do that?
Inner peace.
Inner peace. That's cool. Inner peace of what?
It is the next phase of your training. Every master must find his path to inner peace. Some choose to meditate for 50 years in a cave just like this, without the slightest taste of food or water.
Or
some find it through pain and suffering, as I did. Oh, the day you were chosen as Dragon Warrior was the worst day of my life. By far, nothing else came close. It was the worst, most painful, mind-destroying, horrible moment I have ever experienced. But once I realized the problem was not you, but within me, I found inner peace and was able to harness the flow of the universe.
So that's it? I just need inner peace? My innards are already super, super peaceful, so all I need to do is just get this thing going. Inner peace? You're going down. Now show me what you were doing there with your feet.
Okay. Yeah. That's it. Okay, so yeah. Okay, I will share the slide later. Okay. Today, we are going to have a kind of a bit of. Do you hear my voice? Yes. Okay. Can you now unmute yourself? Please unmute. Okay. Right. Now, based on what we have learned today, because it's actually already more than 1 hour, can you actually maybe one sentence or two sentences say something about what we have learned? What is actually what?
Hello, sir.
Yes. What can we take away from this class for this lesson today? For what you have read? Anyone? Just raise your hand. Doesn't have to be long. One sentence, two sentences, it's okay. Yes, basically.
What I find interesting here is that there's actually this kind of cognitive change in ourselves. The reason why I didn't say how I regulate myself, because I don't really have that kind of experience there. Because I used to swear a lot because when I have problems, like when I face in, like when I driving my bikes on the highway and then someone just like eating, yeah, or pass me, but they do it very like dangerous. I just like swear at them. So, but I never think like that. I need to do this kind of like positive thinking to make myself regulate. No, sir, I never done that before, and it's very interesting. Maybe I can in the future. Maybe if I have this kind of problem, maybe I will do that. But I think it's pretty hard for me to when I have this kind of case, like someone pickpocketed me and then I just take it easy. Yeah, I don't think that I will be able to do that at all,
Yeah,
sir.
sure. Yeah, thank you, Rizky. Yeah. Of course, the primary first reaction is angry, of course, and everybody, it's just normal, right? But we have secondary reaction, right? Secondary reaction is actually taking a distance a bit of our problem and then down regulates. Okay, just an example. Of course, again, it is easily said than done. I understand that. Okay. Others, thank you, Mas Rizky. Yes, others. Okay, maybe any question? Any question? Oh yeah, okay, Mas Frater Julius, and then later Clara. Frater Julius.
Actually, it's not question. I just want to summarize or what I learned from this class.
Right.
Actually, when yesterday I was struggling to answer the question about the process model of emotion, and through this class, I just realized that there are actually some regulation models that I could identify myself best. And from the sharing of Pak Happy regarding the spiritual, and also it is in another term is cognitive cognitive
change.
And I got inspired because I identified that most of my way of regulate my emotion is actually also cognitive change. So that's it important for me.
Thank you, Frater Julius. Mbak Clara.
Okay, sir. Actually, I would like to ask about attention deployment. Is it related to repressive coping style, sir?
Yeah.
Because last night I read it, and I think it is related.
Yes, it is related. Okay. It can be like two ways. For example, like if we are very angry, okay, and then we have like a kind of, what we call it? For men usually, they can hit wall, okay? They can hit wall or they can hit trees and the like. This is attention deployments. So they can, let out the vent. They let, the vent out, okay? Their anger out, okay? By hitting anything, maybe pohon pisang or whatever, okay? This is attention deployments, okay? But, that's actually just to release on the anger, and, angriness or anger or energy, or bad energy, okay? So just as an example, okay, repressive coping style. But there is also another kind of lighter strategy, such as, for example, like I forgot the way. Maybe it's actually funny, okay? Once I actually asked my students in an English graduate study program, English education study program, just actually coincidentally said, if you are angry, if you are in a really bad mood, what did you do? And then lucu-lucu, but most of them, they agree that they are washing their clothes, washing their clothes, okay? Because there was no laundry yet at that time. They are washing clothes, and by washing clothes, they say that is like a kind of therapeutic, therapeutic, kind of therapy, therapeutic. After they were washing their clothes, they feel relieved. I don't know, probably it's because the action or the act of washing the clothes is like meditative, and also, maybe the cold water also give them like a kind of something relaxing, probably. Or some others, probably they are swimming, okay? But things to do with water, I don't know why, I don't know how, but that's what is done by my students. I don't know. That's actually deployments, attentional deployments. Lucu-lucu tapi ya that would. Kalau cowok ngerokok, for example, ya ngerokok. Or some others negative ganja. That's actually something else, okay? Or let's say apa Mas Happy, let's say drunk, get drunk. But of course, that's actually the negative way, okay? I don't hope you do that. Yeah. Thank you, Clara, for raising this issue.
Yes, sir.
Others?
Questions, sir?
Sure, Mas Happy.
Okay, so far we talk about self-regulation of emotion. So how we control ourselves. The problems in my context, usually I come with the problem of students.
Right.
So for example, one of my students say, Kevin is always swearing. For example, I come with a student, and how to regulate my student? Should I invite him to deploy himself from his attention, or how? Because now we invite students in this online learning. Some students have problematic case in learning. They are not regulated, so we invite them from Mojokerto, Semarang to come to our school to be attended intensively by the teacher. And one of them is emotionally imbalanced.
Okay, unstable.
Yeah, and unstable. So we still have difficulty how to make this student emotionally self-regulated. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much. Yeah, if the case is not ourselves, but our students, that actually different things. Okay. We need to have like a kind of therapy in this case, but we can also use some strategies we learned today to be implemented to our students. But of course, the best thing is actually just to listen to their problem first. We are not going to, do this and that. So, for example, like control breathing, probably that would help. That would help. Okay, take a deep breath. No, that would help in this case, particularly with the online learning. Right? It's actually really difficult. Or ask him to, okay, now let's go for meditation. It doesn't take. They won't buy it. Okay. So I cannot answer this question, all right, particularly. It requires a bit longer process in order to understand what the problems are, okay? But swearing for me, this is still, again, it is not related to anger. Sometimes it's just related to what they call it, habits. I used to swear a lot, like Mas Rizky. When I was like young, probably still when, the time, the age I was actually teaching you, Mas Happy, 1996, that was still my habits of swearing, okay? Because it came from, this, the school we shared, okay, in Magelang. Or in some, in some cases, also when I was actually in junior high schools, I swear a lot, okay? And that's actually habits. But yeah, from time to time, then I realized that as a lecturer, I should not swear a lot. But swearing for me was actually cool because, it shows my identity. It shows that, no identity. Kendo maksudnya. It shows, the real me, in fact. Yeah, anyway, but yeah, but it's actually more than swearing, Mas Happy. So, and the problem is actually it's much more than that. There should be like something deeper, not just swearing. Okay, so, but of course, just think about the best strategy. Anyway, I cannot answer this question satisfactorily because it requires a lot of, treatments. Thank you. Others?
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. All right. If there is no question, I think what we can do is now continue study your own paper, and I I have seen some of you have not uploaded the worksheets. I just actually want to tell you that the worksheet is a must, okay? Although the worksheet can be done in a group, okay? So Stella yesterday also asked, requested that if we are able to do it in a group or delay uploading. I'd rather not delaying the uploading, but I'd rather say we can minimize the workload in this case. So the uploading is the same, but minimize the load of our study. So what is your suggestion? Okay, I need your opinions. There will be like a kind of always worksheets in this case. Now, and there are worksheets which is having a lot of questions, and there are also worksheets which have probably only 15 or 20 questions. So do you have any suggestion how to work on this? It is okay for me. In fact, what we do just yesterday, one person, one question. It is possible. It is possible. You can do it in a group. But please, you need to also have other items answered. That is why you need to have what we call it, a kind of platform probably, in order to share the questions, or in order to share the your answers. So it's up to you. You might want to share your Google Drive together in your class. You don't need to invite me, just actually for you. Or I can actually open up the platform for the chats. Okay, forums or not chat, forum. So you just actually share your answers in the forum, and then others you can copy paste into your own worksheets. But of course, you need to understand what you copy pasted. It's actually okay. So the platform of the forum here is in order to know the perspective of your friends. Okay, and then you copy paste it into your own worksheet. If you would like to modify it, please go ahead. If you don't want to modify it, you just upload what it is, whatever it is. So what is your suggestion for next week's activity? Of course, there is worksheets, and worksheets should be done, because this is actually the way we learn something. Okay, there are keywords there which you need to understand. Okay, sentences. Are you okay with what we are doing today? Yes? No?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I will let it up to you. How will you share the numbers? So for example, like, okay, let's say next week we will have, for example, like 20 for example, like 26 items. Okay, 26. Of course, then it would be divided, okay, into individual portion. Okay, it's up to you. How will you divide it? It's up to you. How will you answer it? But please, when you answer, you also use your own context in this case, not just copy paste it. Okay, the answers on the words from the textbook, but also please make meaning. How will you understand that, particularly with your own example? Because by giving examples, then you will understand that I can measure that you understand that by giving examples. So please do it. So yeah, I might think of having a kind of forum in our LMS, and you share your own answers, because of course you have divided already. You have divided the numbers. It's up to you, yeah. But it's up to you how you will answer, how you will divide the numbers. I will, give the, the freedom for you, and then I'll open the chat, the forum, and then you put your answers there in the forum, and let friends here answers put it in the worksheets, and you have to upload the worksheets in the due time. Is it understood? Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Now, as we have already seen from the case here, next week we would like to probably have a kind of a group of probably presentations. But presentations here can be presenting the answers of your selected, what we call it, selected questions. So let's say we have 15 questions or we have 17 questions. Let's say we have 17 questions. So the group presenters next week, for example, you are allowed to select only probably 10 answers, or you are select keywords which you would like to, present to the class. How will we do it? It's up to you. Sorry, question. Okay, are you okay with the Zoom meeting or every week, or you prefer Zoom meeting every other week? I ask you, do you have problem with quota, data, internet, or not? If you have problem, then I have to say that, okay, probably we are going to do it every other week. Do you have any group presentation with Pak Cons? Yes. How many groups are there?
5 groups.
5. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Can we still stay in the same group? Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay. Okay. If we can stay in the same group, who is group 1? Raise your hand. Group 1. Just raise your hand. Group 1. Okay. Group 2. Thank you. Group 2. Raise your hand. Okay. Group 3. Group 3. Group 4. Thank you. Group 4. Okay, thank you. Group 5. All right, thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, next week we are going to start with group 5, and then 4, and then 3, and then 2, and then 1. So 1 is actually the last. And what you need to present is just anything from the paper, anything from the, you can present from the worksheet too, okay? So if you anything from the worksheet or anything from the paper, anything you want to share, it's up to you, okay? But please share it with a lot of examples. All right. So next week will be Mas Happy, Frater Julius, and Rizky. Yeah, you share the portions, okay, to present. Okay, done. Thank you very much. So, Mas Julius, Mas Happy, Mas Rizky, if you have any questions related to what you are going to do next week, you can text me. Okay. Thank you very much, guys. I hope you can understand what we are doing, and you can actually prepare. You can start preparing from right now, so that we can finish in the due time. All right. Thank you. I'm happy to see you.
Yes.
I'll see you next week. Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Have a nice
Okay.
day.
Yeah, have a nice day.